Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
Okay, guys, you ready to move on to the good? Okay, let's start with Chris this time. Chris, give me your good for the wild card weekend.
I'll give good to the Texans just because we all went against them. I believe I'm pretty sure we all picked the Chargers. And we talked about it a little bit, but it was a pretty ugly first half, but they really took over in the second. Mixon got going because he was also kind of bad in the first half too. Stroud couldn't get anything going, and then they just flipped the momentum and then just did not give it back at all. So good win for the Texans when I don't think too many people were believing in them.
I agree. Like in the first quarter and a half, they passed the ball a ton. And we were talking about it when we were predicting, we were like, they got established to run, and they weren't doing that. I'm like, oh, this is not good. This is not a good game plan. It ended up not hurting them, but once they got going and started running the ball, Mixon had over 100 yards. So that sort of changed. And like Clint mentioned, Stroud started running as well, which I think opened up things. I have to say, forcing the Chargers to turn the ball over 4 times for a team that doesn't typically turn the ball over. I think Herbert had 3 interceptions the entire season. That was pretty impressive for their defense as well. Clint, anything to add for the Texans?
Just they were going to be part of my good too. Just the defensive effort. They, were kind of all over the field like you would expect, and they didn't drop the interceptions. A lot of times those come. The first pick six went through the guy's hand, and sometimes it gets on you quick and you drop it, and that can change a game. But they played, excellent, and they got the Chargers out of the run game. 2.8 yards a carry for the whole team. Part of that is they got a lead, but early in the game, the Chargers weren't running that good. And my shout out second, good because it's from the game, is Lad McConkey. He had all but 45 of the passing yards from Justin Herbert. That dude's good.
Yeah, that's he had himself a game. He's going to be really good. We'll talk about the Chargers. It's a little frustrating watching them because there's a couple of Herbert has such an arm, but he needs talent around him. We'll talk about later, but good for McConkey. Okay, my good. I guess I was going to pick the Texans too, but for the sake of conversation, I'll go with the Bills. They treated that game like a business trip. They just went in and did their thing. James Cook had 120 yards off of 23 carries, which I think is good again for the Bills to establish the run in the playoffs, so they ain't putting a ton of pressure on Josh Allen, who also had himself a game. So what is going to be so fun, and we'll talk about it, but we get these two teams that kind of fixed their problems in the offseason, got the runs going. It looks like they're kind of built very similarly, and they're coming to beat one another up this coming weekend, which will be fun. So I'll give my good to the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, James Cook, the defense. And really, we talked about the Denver Broncos scoring early, and they did that on the first drive, but then they didn't score after that. But good for the Bills. They didn't let that hinder them.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, guys, anything else on the Bills before we move on?
Not really. Just the touchdown. I always get his first name right. I can never remember. Johnson. That was a really great
play.
Ty Johnson. The touchdown he had 30 yards down the field.
His leg was up somehow, and that was pretty good.
That was a really nice play for a not wide receiver.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good play. I like that play as well. Okay, let's go on to our bad. Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.